Hi, I'm Tara, and welcome to Let's Do Books. This week, I'm joined by Cass Sellars, author of the romantic suspense Lightning series. Her latest book is the contemporary romance Finding Sky, which is out everywhere from Bold Strokes Books. Welcome, Cass.
Thank you for having me.
So, you are an author, but you're really here to kind of talk about your reader journey. So, when did you first discover lesbian fiction? How did you come across it? And what were those first couple of books that really stood out for you?
I think probably as true for a lot of us is Rubyfruit Jungle. It was out and I discovered it and I was still trying to figure things out at that age. And it was super cool to find this kind of entree into the genre. So I started reading that, and I think I read it a couple of times actually. And at the time, I'm trying not to age myself, but back that long ago, it was hard to find quality lesbian fiction. I mean, there was only Naiad, right? And so you read everything you could get your hands on. Catherine V. Forrest, those kind of books were my first entree into reading lesbian fiction and really finding myself between the pages. So I took a break, honestly. I didn't read a lot. Life got in the way and I was, working on school and my career. And then later in life, I started reading more and more and found Radclyffe and reread a lot of the Catherine V. Forrest books, Leslie and Newman, those kind of really key authors, and Jerry Hill. And I really started diving into it with the Honor series for Radclyffe, and I didn't put it down. I bought every single one. I backed up and started over.
They're so good. Have you read the new one yet?
I'm in the middle of it. I knew you were going to ask me that. It's on my Kindle, so when we get off now, I'm going to go back.
Oh, that's exciting. So for people listening to this, we're recording it in November, and I am so excited because I think Above All Honor was the second or third LesFic book I ever read. And I did the same thing. I tore through all the books that were in the series at that point. And so when I saw that there was a new one coming out, I got very, very excited.
I know, me too. I was like, finally, we get to kind of tie up the ends a little bit and take a glimpse into them again.
I want a book. We're going to get back to the actual interview, I swear. I want to know what happens with, I'm trying to remember their names. It's been so long. Diana and Valerie?
Yes.
That's the couple from there too that I love Blair and Cam. They're one of my favorite all-time couples, but Diana and Valerie just has me fascinated. I don't know, want to know what happens with them.
I know, that's actually, I thought of those two. You always get hooked on just a couple that may not be the central characters. I did my last book, Unexpected Lightning. I wasn't expecting anybody. I mean, there's a secondary romance that kind of develops in there. And I got so many reader emails saying, please write a book just about these two people. And it was such a minor thing and it happened towards the end. And I was like, okay. So I never would have thought of that quite like that. It's interesting how people find a niche that they really like.
So are you going to?
I would like to. I may or may not have almost finished one. So it's up to Bold Strokes if they will go for the next one, but we'll start there and find out.
It's very exciting. Actually, that's kind of good segue into what inspired you to start writing your own stories.
So I've always been in and around journalism and communications. That was going to be where I went before I went into the criminal justice world of things. And so I always thought I had a book in me, and I was one of those people that I could probably find 6 or 7 first chapters of a lot. And I wasn't really sure what I thought I could do even. And then sat down as the bills for my LesFic habit were becoming large, and all my discretionary income went to books.
Mm-hmm.
Someone said to me, you need to try and write your own. And I thought, I can do this. Well, I didn't know I could do it. I tried. I thought, okay, I can try. And I literally sat down, and 3 months later, I'd written 2 of them.
Wow.
Because it was it fed me I was in a really weird place as far as my job was I was doing some stuff I didn't like, and I felt not great about my professional career. So it was a good escape. And we were in Denver at the time, and it was freezing cold, and there was, 2 feet of snow on the ground. It's not like I was going outside anywhere. So I thought, I'm just going to kind of hold up and, sit down and write. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. How did you feel when you started getting those first reader responses to your first book?
I was honestly a little astonished that, first of all, that anybody read it, that all of a sudden my name and my face was on a book, and that people were actually reading and responding to it. And of course, the questionable ones, reviews hit every author. There could be 35 good ones and one kind of mediocre one, and you spend 3 weeks just dwelling on the mediocre one. But it felt pretty good to know that somebody was actually interested in hearing that voice.
Are you still a pretty voracious reader? Like, now that you're writing, do you find you're still able to keep up with what's coming out?
Not as much as I would like to, certainly. There is a big backstack that I need to go through, and it's just a matter of taking time from the crazy. I have been through a lot of life changes in the past 2 years, and you just kind of wake up and go, wait, where did that all go? I bought a new house, I've changed jobs, all this other stuff has happened, relationships have ended and begun, and you don't take as much time to be quiet, and I need to do more of that. So I'm going to finish the Radclyffe book and then move on and just start it doesn't take me longer than a couple of days, but it's a matter of sitting down and not doing silly stuff like, organizing closets and some stuff like that.
Thank you for being an awesome listener and supporting Tilt, the channel that brings you all the podcasts you want to hear. You're listening to Tilt. Find more podcasts on thelesbiantalkshow.com.
So what are some of the books that you are especially excited to turn to once you finish the Radclyffe?
Oh yeah, Not Dead Enough by J.M. Redmann. I love her books. After Cost of Honor, of course. Tennessee Whiskey. There is a new book coming out, not yet out, by Casey Richardson. I'm looking forward to reading. Line of Duty by V.K. Powell. I love her stuff. I tend to like romance intrigue a little bit more just because of the line of work I'm in. So those are the next steps for me.
Yeah, I was looking at your bio on the Bold Strokes website, and I was a little curious how one does go from like that kind of a career in it. Like if I read that correctly, like you were doing work in like fraud investigations and criminal justice.
Correct.
How do you go from there to writing? Or maybe that's an unfair question because I know that we have like lawyers and doctors and all kinds of professions as part of this community, but like how does that work? How did that work for you? And how does that come into the fiction that you're writing?
I think it's why I can't. So I've tried really hard to write what I call purest romance. And there's always a part of me that thinks, well, they need to have like a mystery. There needs to be something happening, right? They need to have like an inquisitive sort of, thing that they're working on. And I've tried really hard to leave that out. And I don't think I'm as good at it as if they have something to do. And it's my ADD brain probably that there needs to be 18 things going on at once. So it was easy for me to take little pieces and parts, especially in certain ones of my books, where I could point to a very real case that kind of informed the thing that I wrote about, or the situation that the groups in Lightning got into, and Finding Sky, which has a little bit more of a financial crimes bent, but I didn't want to go so deep where people are like, oh my God, stop telling me about check fraud. I'm dying. So, and several people actually made the comment in Finding Sky. They're like, oh, well, she didn't go deep enough in that. And I'm afraid that would have just been the other direction if I had, people going, oh my God, with the paper. And, So I guess it was a natural thing for me because I can write about cases like that I've worked. But one does not make any sense as far as the other as a natural progression. It wasn't like, I was some, I don't know, newspaper journalist who started writing fiction,
Mm-hmm. Have you read The Red Files by Lee Winter?
I have not. Lee Winter is on my list of want to read.
It's her first book, and I fell in love with it, and I love a lot of her books, but that one, I think I especially hold dear because it's a romantic suspense. And there's just like this kind of almost like a patter to it that has the same feel of some of those old Hollywood movies.
Oh, nice.
Kind of like His Girl Friday or the Philadelphia Story or that kind of thing. But it is a romantic suspense. So it has that kind of mystery going throughout it. So I don't know if you like to read what you like to write, but if you do.
Oh, absolutely, I do.
Yeah, I recommend that one. That one's a lot of fun.
Okay, well, it's on my list now.
So I think just as kind of a final thought or question, we have a pretty great, robust community of readers and writers going. Is there anything about where we're headed together as a community that has you really excited?
I think just the broader appeal and infiltration of not necessarily mainstream books actually getting into the public consciousness. I think it's becoming more popular. I think as the lines or the definition of sexuality kind of blur, in other words, anybody, younger than me has stopped saying I'm gay, straight, bi, whatever. It's much more of a fluid kind of assignment. So the fact that people are reading all sorts of genres because they like the story, they don't necessarily like it because it's a straight romance or it's just a mystery. It's starting to become more pervasive that people read across genres, and that's exciting. I think it's exciting that people like the Bold Strokes family are getting so much traffic that doesn't, we're part of mainstream book festivals, and I use mainstream obviously loosely, or festivals that are not just about books. And it's becoming a bigger deal to write in this genre, and that's exciting to me.
Where can people find you online if they want to connect with you?
So obviously I'm on Facebook at Cass Sellars, Instagram at Cass Sellars, and I have a website, CassSellarsAuthor.com. And they can reach me in any of those places when Facebook's being nice to me, which I've decided it's like my girlfriend says, it's like a high school mean girl just trying to make trouble in people's relationships because it only posts like half the stuff. So
yeah, I don't think Facebook is being nice to anybody.
No, it's just there's some guy in the back room going, watch this, delete,
Mm-hmm. That is all for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
I'm Tara, and you've been listening to Les Do Books. You can email me at tara@thelesbianreview.com with your questions or comments. If you're an author who's interested in joining me on the show to talk about the LesFic you love or the trends that have you interested, please let me know. If you've enjoyed this episode, please check out the show notes where you'll find a Patreon link for Tilt, or visit patreon.com/thelesbiantalkshow. Our patrons get exclusive content like bonus podcasts that no one else gets access to. To find this and many other great shows, all you need to do is search for Tilt, spelled TLT, on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, or Spotify.